And it's only slowly that I realized that really to get good returns, you have to stay put for the long term. So now I think I have a reasonably sorted mutual fund portfolio and approach. So today's industry is a lot more cleaner, and more importantly, it's technologically much better. So my personal finance journey has been full of mistakes. And I'm a case study in what not to do, at least in my initial years. So I did things like F&O trading and I lost money in that. You should redeem funds far too early, long before you should be redeeming them, because some news would come or somebody would say something. And it's only slowly that I realized that really to get good returns, you have to stay put for the long term. So now I think I have a reasonably sorted mutual fund portfolio and approach. Of course, I'm always learning, but I'm much better than what I used to be. So it is a lot better than what it used to be. If you think all the way back to 2009, before that there was something called entry load. And then for a long time there was upfront commission. So there was a lot of mis-selling to get those upfront commissions. Even the absolute amount of commissions was a lot higher. So all of that SEBI has cut down on massively. So today's industry is a lot more cleaner. And more importantly, it's technologically much better. It's so easy to just go online to any of these platforms and within 5 minutes you can do your KYC and start investing. 3-4 years earlier, there were like all kinds of paper forms you have to fill, you have to go and give checks. All of that is gone. So this is a really hard question. It's harder than it sounds because mutual funds tend to perform in some stages, some periods of time, and some periods they don't. And usually investors get in after a fund has performed really well. So it depends very much on the category of the fund. For example, in the large cap category, so there's a report called the S&P Dow Jones versus active funds, the SPIVA report, which shows that 80% of active mutual funds are underperforming the index. So strictly if somebody was looking at the large cap category, then a passive fund might be a good option. For the other categories, it's somewhere between 40 to 60% the number of active funds that outperform their benchmarks. So here fund selection can give good rewards, but it's really important to pick a fund that is consistent, not necessarily one that's a top performer at a given point of time, but one that will be in the top, let's say in the top quartile or the top 2 quartiles for a good 5-10 years at least. There are a whole host of factors to look at. I'll just mention a couple of them and then leave it for a more detailed study for the viewer later on. To begin with, performance against the category and the benchmark matters enormously. And by that, I don't just mean the last 1 year performance or the last 3 year performance. It should ideally be rolling returns, because rolling returns takes away the bias of a single point of time. Then it's a question of who the fund manager is, how long they've been doing that job, how experienced they are. It should be about how much risk the fund is taking to generate that kind of return. So if, let's say if it's a flexi cap fund, it has loaded up on small caps, you should think twice before just blindly going for that kind of fund. So these 3 I would say for now. There are other more complex things, but at least these 3 will sort of get you sorted on that initial journey. So one thing that happens to a lot of us is that we get influenced by our initial journey. If we started out our investing career in a bear market, it often happens that for our entire investing lives, we are conservative, we are scared, we're afraid. The opposite can be of somebody who enters in a bull market. So this effect happens even with experienced investors. You tend to be affected by what happened in the past. The other thing that happens is hubris. Like you've done well, so you think whatever fund you've picked is going to keep doing well. And it's really hard to let go. You kind of fall in love with the fund. So you have to, at the end of the day, just remember that it is just a fund. Even if it's been successful in the past, you have to keep evaluating it over and over again.